Hi, my name's Miriam Croker and I need to create a poster on technology. So I've decided to do one on teenage focus, and I thought I would let you join me for the ride so you can see how I create it using correctly resourced photos and Photoshop. This is the Creative Commons search engine. What it does is go through all of these different locations and it sources images for their copyright and tells you all about what the authors allow you to use. So I'm looking for a student with a laptop and I want to go to Google Images for this. This then takes me to Google Images and I can select the image I would like and visit the page. This then takes you to the original source, and you'll see here that the license is public domain, free for commercial use and no attribution required. Perfect. So I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm going to save her as Laptop Girl. Okay, so the goal today is to create a protest poster on something to do with technology. So what I've chosen to do is to look at the attention spans of students today using a graffiti style. This is the background that I've sourced from the Creative Commons website, and this is the girl that I'd like to be the main focus for the project. So I need to select her. There's a couple of ways you can do it. Firstly, if you do the magic wand and then select inverse, this is a way to quickly grab her. However, you'll see down here you've got a few different bits of white, which is called her shadow, and there's also some bits of her hair that I don't particularly want to have to take the time to remove. So if you go to the quick selection tool and hold it down, you can quickly grab around your image, and this is really simple if you've got a solid background like I've got, just like this, and it will select her. Oh, that worked out quite nicely. Now you copy her and paste her onto your main backdrop. Now, when you press Command T or Control T, this allows you to change the dimensions of your image. Holding down Shift means that you can keep your aspect ratio and it remains the same size. So I want her to be about that big because she is the main focus. Alright, then you apply it, and this is the first step. Now what we need to do is to create an effect on her using an adjustment, and that effect is going to be the threshold. So when you go to Image, Adjustment and Threshold, you'll notice that this actually turns her into sort of an oil canvas, and you can choose to go as dark as you want or as light. Now the thing you need to capture the most is the facial expression, because let's face it, that's the most pivotal point when looking at humans. But when you have a look at the correct face texture here, you'll notice the rest of her has lost a lot of its detail. So the way around this is I'm going to choose our elliptical marquee tool, select her face like so, and then select inverse. Now this selects everything except for what you originally selected. Go back to your adjustment threshold and you'll notice that everything except for the face is changing. So this allows you to get as much detail as you want in the other parts of her, like so, without touching the face. Then when you inverse, you're able to do the same effect again, but at a different level to what you originally did with the outside. And don't worry about the little lines around her face, we can easily remove those. So I think that's about as dark as I want her to go. Press OK. Now you have sort of a bit more of a drawn in texture for your character. Now we get down to a bit more of the finicky side of it, and this means removing some of the blemishes that we might have created with some of our previous effects. So for this I'm going to go to the brush tool, select the hard brush about size 12, make sure the white is selected in your colour palette, and just go over some of these lines as though they were never there. Okay. So now making sure you can fit on screen. You get a bit of an overlook of what it's coming together like at the moment. The next step is to remove some of the hard lines around the outside so it doesn't look like you've just stuck the picture on there. To do this, we're going to use our eraser tool. It is important to look at the settings for this one. I want a sort of feathered look. So I'm going to select the soft touch and make it quite large. Oh, maybe not that large, there you go. And then you'll notice as you go around, you can sort of for a bit more of a spongy look. Okay, so after you've gone around the rest of the image, oh, missed a bit. I don't want that hair like that. I don't want to get rid of the top of the head completely. I don't want that harsh look. You can then zoom in to get a more detailed view. So now I'm going to reduce the size of my eraser. Make it a lot smaller. I'm just going to do some blotches on the inside of our student, just to separate some of the lines. A bit more of a a spray painted look. Okay, so zooming out, you can then have a look at it. Now going back to our layer, when you change the opacity, this actually changes the transparency. So making it 0, she turns invisible. I actually just want her sitting at about 70%. So now we've got the girl embedded onto the brick wall. I'm happy with the brick wall. I think it adds a really nice background. We want to add some text. So the slogan I want to use is, what are you focused on? Okay, this will mean different things to different people, and I guess that's the idea of a protest poster, asking people, getting people's thoughts. So I actually think the spacing's a little bit too big on this, so I might change the font to 72 for now, go to our paragraphing tool and just reduce the sizing, the spacing between our font. Okay, so sticking with white, it still just looks like you've written text on. So going to the effects, go to drop shadow, and this is where you can add a bunch of different effects. So I also want to put inner shadow on, but that's a little bit too heavy. So you can change the opacity. You can also change the distance so it doesn't come in so much. Okay. Now I do have a graffiti font in here. So that's called Ruthless Reckon. But I actually find that this one's a little bit difficult to read for something like this, so I am going to stick with Noteworthy, but I think it can afford to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to 80 pixels, and due to the nature of the project, I also think that if a graffiti artist was going to come and make this poster, they wouldn't just write it in a straight line. So using Command T or Control T, if you're a Windows user, you can manipulate this. So it's still not sticking out as much as I'd like, so I think I'm going to change it to a bold. There you go. Alright, so I'm fairly happy with that, and I think if I had a bit more time, I would put a little bit more effort into her, so I can actually change the opacity of the font. So it does, the bricks do show through a little bit to see which one I preferred. So I always save a PSD version, see down here, so a Photoshop. What this does is conserves all of your layers. So if you do want to change anything and I do want that to be yellow in the future, I can easily go back and change it. And then I'm going to layer and flatten the image. And you'll notice that all of the layers have now been combined into one. And you can say File, Save As, and I'm going to export this one as a JPEG. Save. Now going into my Finder, I'm able to open up my JPEG, and I have a copy of my image here.